Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Mr. Mario Lopez. What a nice-looking shirt. We're going to talk about that later.
We should talk about that later. Add that to the flurries. Can I tell you something about the shirt that I really like? I like that I am in a traditional boxing pose, and you assumed a karate position.
I did.
A karate position with your flops.
The flops.
The flops are, and the wig is actually looking really tight.
I didn't know I was a southpaw. I'm like Terence Crawford.
No, you're like Terence Crawford, mixing it up. Not really a southpaw, but that's how you do it.
And, of course, our third man in the ring are Lawrence Cole, Justin Buffalo
don't
Nichols.
do that to him.
Hey,
don't do that to him.
Leave Cole alone.
Leave Nichols alone.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, we've got so much to talk about. The big story from AT&T Stadium in Dallas/Arlington, Texas on Fox pay-per-view. The IBF Welterweight Championship was on the line, and it was held by Errol Spence, who moves to 25-0. Winning a clear-cut 12-round decision over the undersized Mikey Garcia, 39-1. Your scorecards for this bout, 120-107, 120-108. Mario, I've got to eat a lot of crow. I thought at the very least Mikey Garcia would make it competitive. He barely had any moments.
LTM. You know what that stands for?
No.
Listen to Mario.
Oh, God.
That's exactly. Okay. Here's the thing. And let me preface it by saying we should remember the guy came up 2 weight classes against the most dangerous welterweight in the world, and the fact that he was able to go the distance and survive is I still think commendable, because a lot of guys in his own weight division, even in this under the PBC banner, are willing to face Errol Spence. With that said, that's all he did was survive. Okay? I actually thought that Spence would be too big and too strong and would just try to come and overwhelm him, right? Not necessarily a la Mike Tyson, but would just, because he's one of the best body punchers in the game.
Bully him physically.
Bully him physically. And aside from Canelo and Triple G, I think he's one of the best body punchers in the game, Errol Spence. And I thought he would sit in that pocket, bully him physically, and those openings would come up over top, and he would overwhelm him in that sense. What we saw was a technician in there. That he had a game plan of, it was a tactical fight. It was a smart tactical fight where he stuck to his game plan, which was to establish the jab, stay on the outside, and pick his shots and work the body later on, and he executed it brilliantly. I thought Mikey would be able to, because Mikey has a great, the way he closes his distance, he is great with his jab, closing his distance. And I thought he might be able to get in there for a couple of counter rights. There was one point, I'm not a big guy to look at the stats, because a lot of times those numbers are farcical, but but this one was just so glaring.
They told the story. They told the story.
There was like 9 punches landed in 7 rounds or something ridiculous like that. I go, wow, he was not able to close the distance. He was not able to get inside, find the timing. Spence did such a great job with his angles, mixing up the punches. He would set up that jab. He would set up his punches with his piston-like jab, and he would have looping left hands followed by straight left hands, and then straight left hands to the body. He was boxing beautifully. Then once he started really sort of breaking him down, he started sitting in the pocket, which I thought he would do. I thought he showed him a lot of respect, but then again, Mikey commands respect. He's an undefeated fighter. He's got 4 divisions, right? Considered one of the best pound for pound. And I thought he actually showed him a little bit too much respect, where he could have made it a little bit more, I don't want to say an easier fight, but he would have had a little bit more of a dramatic outcome for him. I honestly believe that. But Spence showed me something. He went in there, and I was like, wow, this guy isn't just a big, strong welterweight and a crafty southpaw. He can really box, and he's a technician, and he's got a high skill level to go with all those other tangibles, and it made Mikey look a little domestic. And that's
one-dimensional.
That's a really hard thing to do, because Mikey is far from that, and he is such a fundamentally sound, a technical fighter that I thought it was going to be a little bit more competitive, at least in spurts with a couple. I don't remember him getting touched. Kim, I don't remember him getting touched. With that said, before I lied to go, with that said, Mikey is tough as hell. I learned things from both things. One thing, that there's a lot more tools in that tool shed from Spence, and Mikey's got a set of whiskers on him, and he is a tough son of a bitch. for him to withstand that, because a lot of guys would have folded. And full props to Mikey for going the distance and at least not appearing to get too physically damaged. I think it remains to be seen whether the wear and tear. We'll see how it is. I actually texted with him, and he said he feels fine. He wasn't too hurt. He said he's not that strong. LOL, LOL, right? But he says he's going to be fine. So the guy's got a lot of pride, and he fought with a lot of heart, obviously. But I was sort of surprised of the way the fight played out in that sense. Were you?
Yeah, but it's interesting. Errol Spence said that he reads everything that is said and written about. He hears it, and he said that he was a little bit insulted that his boxing IQ and his acumen was questioned. This is what he had to say in the post-fight press conference.
Then a lot of people, a lot of so-called experts would write me off saying, Mikey's a smarter boxer, or I can't box, I can't do this, I can't do that. So, tonight I just wanted to show that, I do have, boxing ability. I can box, I can use my jab. I do have high boxing IQ, it's not, it's a reason why, I was an Olympian and had over 30 international competitions and had success on the international level as an amateur. So I just wanted to prove that tonight, and I think I did that.
Kim, that's the one thing that surprised me leading up to the fight, is that Mikey Garcia was borderline cocky going into it. I wish he would have took a little bit more of a Pacquiao approach with that humble story. But talking about how much better his skill set was, and basically demeaning Spence in the sense that he may be a bigger guy, more powerful guy, but I've got the stronger skill set. So I was surprised by that approach. So yes, he obviously took issue with that.
The one thing I loved about Errol Spence, and he showed me something that I didn't think he was going to do. When you face a counterpuncher, you have to leave them openings. In other words, you have to hang the curveball, and that front foot has to be parallel with the head.
Right.
Errol Spence early in that fight stayed right behind his jab, and even when he would throw left hands, he'd lean back in a way that even if Mikey saw an opening, the opening was too far away. And I really thought Spence's torso, it almost seemed to elongate right as he'd throw punches. And by the time Mikey would react with a counter right hand or a jab, his head was way out in front.
Right.
And then you talked about the angles and also the footwork. And just to have that discipline, to keep that head on the back shoulder, as they say, box on the back foot, for a power puncher to do that, I think shows that this guy has a boxing IQ of 250, and it's not just about the brawn, it's just not about the power. And for Errol Spence, he has rabbit ears. He does care about what the media says. This is my exchange with Errol in the post-fight press conference. Errol, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Hey, you said Mikey Garcia was going to win.
I did. Errol, you proved me wrong.
I told you I watch everything.
You know what? I'm flattered that you care.
I watch everything. I told you that.
Errol,
Mikey did. I watch everything.
I asked this of Richard. The bottom line is the other PBC welterweights. You know who they are: Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner, and Keith Thurman. They've all fought each other. They have not fought you. In your heart of hearts, based on tonight, do you think any of them will step up now? And what about the second part of the question, the specter of one Terence Crawford?
I think they will, because the money right now. Like I always say on Twitter, you always see me post tables turning. A lot of these guys didn't want to fight when I was calling them out when they 13-0, and you look at all them YouTube videos with Sean Porter saying he's not looking at me. He never wanted to fight me. He wanted to fight Danny Garcia and things like that. But now, everybody's energy changed, and now, guys want to fight me and things like that because, I'm turning into the money man.
So what about Crawford?
We can get there too.
So Mario, yeah, I was wrong. I got to eat crow.
Better not be lumping me up in that y'all. That was all you, player. I made it very clear.
Yeah. I've got a Texas-sized spoonful of crow. Errol Spence, here's the issue, though. And I brought this up to him. I think there's only one challenge for him at 147, and that is Terence Crawford. Now, let's take a look at the facts. Danny Garcia, Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, those are pretty good welterweights of this past generation. They've all kind of mixed it up in a scrum. They have consciously avoided Mr. Spence for a reason.
Here's the thing. Immediately, I started fantasizing about a Terence Crawford fight. Okay, let's just like hang there for a second. Okay, I know the politics and what have you, and we've seen other networks work together and make it happen. I know that's not going to happen next, but let's just stay there for a second because I agree with you. I think Terence Crawford, Errol Spence is a 50-50 fight. That is as close to a pick-em fight as you. Do you disagree?
I completely agree.
And
anyone that
especially
has a
after-
definitive opinion about it, I think is really, really misguided.
I have a definitive opinion that it's going to be 50-50. That it does. I really don't know. And that is number one on my Mount Rushmore fights of what I'd like to see.
More than Wilder Joshua. Interesting.
Yeah, actually, more than Wilder Joshua.
Me too. Me too.
Right?
Just I like the welterweights better than heavyweights.
Yeah, I think, and I don't even know if it'll be an entertaining fight, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because they might stink out the joint. I'm just curious to
But we
see.
need to see it.
I just want to see
Mario,
it.
we cannot have this become the modern day welterweight version of Riddick Bowe, Lennox Lewis.
Well, that's
you can't.
No. Or I don't want it to be Pacquiao Mayweather where it's stale and they're about 5, 6 years, 7, and the expiration date is gone. You're exactly right. But again, staying in this space for a second, I was like, wow, it's a 50-50 fight, and then I think to myself, ooh, Crawford's he's bigger. I want to say a little faster. He's a little nastier with it where I know he can close that distance. He makes his adjustments.
But Spence is the natural 47.
No, exactly. But Spence is a natural 47. But then people, but Spence couldn't hurt a Garcia and couldn't, you know what I mean? So you just, in your mind, you start playing these mental gymnastics, going back and forth, which is fun, which you want to see in fights. So that's the best fight, I think, that could be made from a pure standpoint, and it's an honest pick-em fight. I don't know who, and I like both guys, and that one's nasty and salty, and the other one, and I don't know who I would favor. Okay, now, moving off of that one, I'll tell you which fights are. I know Spence started calling out Pacquiao, another small guy. And I know the business sense. And Pacquiao, look, I love Pacquiao. God bless him. He don't care who he fights. But the reality is he don't want that
Mario,
smoke.
he
don't want that
came
smoke,
for
dude.
a Mikey Garcia victory. The wrong guy won from his perspective.
Right, of course.
And the bottom line is this. Manny Pacquiao should fight a Danny Garcia. Maybe he should fight a Floyd Mayweather based on the age and the money.
Well, hold on a second.
Errol Spence, can you do your Duke again? Cue up the Duke.
He's all wrong for us,
oh
baby.
My God.
He's all wrong for us. We don't need that kind of man in our life. No, not at all. However, do you like a Pacquiao-Keith Thurman fight?
Yes, I've called for it.
So would I. I like a Pacquiao-Keith Thurman fight. I think, by the way, that's another 50-50 fight.
Based on
That's
what I saw.
That's another 50-50 fight. Based on what we saw on Thurman last, and at the point that Pacquiao was in his career, I honestly think, do you like those odds, 50-50?
I would say yes. I would make a slight Thurman lean based on age. But again, if you're getting buzzed by Josecito Lopez, who has a wiffle ball bat.
Right, and you're coming in with the Louisville Slugger.
Right.
I honestly think that's a 50-50 fight, so I really like it. I also don't hate a Spence-Sean Porter fight.
Unify. We need to have that fight.
I like the fact that you can unify. I like the fact that Porter is a legit welterweight, and the kid, say what you will about him, but he comes to fight. He might make it ugly, but I think there'll be some nice opportunities there for Spence to shine. And who knows if Porter has the fight of his life too. So those are two fights that I think are actually doable. We might see, and I wouldn't be mad at them to hold us over until Crawford Spence in a perfect world.
And on that, we know the Cold War that exists in boxing. And let me just, again, not imitate, but quote the words of one Ronald Reagan. Gorbachev, tear down that wall.
What was your score for the fight, by the way? Because I had it 119-109. The second round I gave to Mikey, which,
you know what?
Other than that, it was hard to give him another one.
Call me Salvation Army, Kim, because I gave him 2 rounds. I was very charitable.
Second and which one?
Second and I think the 5th. Yeah, but again, you were grasping for straws. Speaking of Mikey Garcia, he suffers his first professional defeat. This is what he had to say in the immediate aftermath.
Hey guys, what a show. It was great. Great show. You had a lot of fans. I appreciate all the love and support. I fought hard. I tried to make history. I tried to move up in weight, and I thought I was going to be able to pull it off, and unfortunately it wasn't my way. I got to give credit to Errol. He had a great game plan. He used that jab, that distance. He knew how to control that very well. A few moments that I tried to make adjustments, he had something in return. So, he showed, great boxing. I tried to do everything I could to
make my adjustments, but just couldn't get it off. But I'm still very, very happy with the performance. I tried my best, and we worked hard for this. I really wanted to win it, and it just feel a little bummed out that I couldn't pull it off. But overall, it was a great experience, great show. Errol Spence is a terrific champion. The best in the welterweight division. Very strong, and I'm just very happy that we were able to put this fight together. This is what boxing needs. Two of the best pound-for-pound fighters fighting each other, and that doesn't come often, it doesn't happen often. So I was very happy that we could put this together. I'm sure all the fans, were watching and excitement, and, all the people watching on pay-per-view, I'm sure they all also got a good treat from it, because, it's not often that we get these type of fights, and that's what I want to give, nothing but great fights, and I think we succeeded at that. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming out. Anything else, we'll see what happens after this. But I thought it was a good show. Thank you.
So Mario, obviously for Mikey Garcia, I don't know if he was in a no-lose situation, but there is still the physical damage that he took. They don't know what they're going to do. Do you think he goes all the way down to 35, or do you think he just moves down to 140?
How close do you think they were to throwing in the towel in the 10th round?
If it was up to Robert Garcia, 8, 9, and 10, I think he was warming up the right arm in the bullpen.
Right.
But as it got to the 11th, I believe Mikey Garcia made it very clear. I made it this far.
Right.
My legs feel good enough. I'm blocking enough shots.
Right.
You're not going to let me get stopped. I think in his mind, he already knew. I've lost. You're not going to stop me.
Listen, like I said, if he came out of there without significant damage, it was a win-win situation. That's a big if. We don't know because of the long-term effects of that, right? Obviously, the worst-case scenarios were cases like Amir Khan going up to fight Canelo or Kell Brook going up to fight Spence, ironically, and fortunately, that didn't happen. It goes to show, by the way, one quick thing before we move on. Going up 2 weight classes, how special it was when Roberto Duran did it to Sugar Ray Leonard in his prime. Dude, it puts things in perspective on how incredible that truly was. Think about that.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray Leonard in his prime, just Olympic gold medals, undefeated, and same with Duran, but going up, and he just didn't win. He was beating him up in there.
Yeah, he was. And Ray Leonard says to this day he's never felt like that physically after any fight. And going back to some of the issues that Garcia had, in others spots where a Shane Mosley beat a De La Hoya, then Manny Pacquiao beat a much more faded version of De La Hoya, or even when Kell Brook had some moments against Golovkin, the smaller guy generally has to be the quicker guy.
Right.
In this fight, the bigger guy was actually faster.
That's an excellent point.
So that was something that was very insurmountable for Mikey Garcia, because Mikey's a guy that's very methodical. He is precise. But once he kept getting beat to the spot with those left hands, I said, uh-oh, he has no shot. Yeah. No shot. So, Mario, let's go back to the question. There's still Lomachenko. There's still some very good fighters at 140. If you were running Team Garcia, what does he do?
Look, I think Mikey lost no respect from the fight community. As a matter of fact, and from fans and the general fans that decided to tune in, I think his stock rose, because all you heard during that broadcast, which, by the way, we should talk about that.
Yes.
Was that, man, nobody wants to face this guy. All these guys under the same promotional banner, all the champ, nobody wants to face him. It took this little tough-ass Mexican dude 2 weight classes down, who, by the way, I had never even fought anyone at welterweight, to go against the scariest guy in the division. Wow, bravo. And the fact that he went up there and took on the challenge, it was a win-win situation. Now, with that said, so his stock, I think, is still sky high. He's still elite, badass, all of the above. I think, in a perfect world, he goes back to 135, which is his best weight, okay, which he makes easily. Because he looked a little thick at that weight class.
Looked like brown mashed potatoes.
Yeah,
I'll
he
be
was
honest
working with your boys. Over at
right.
That's harsh. That's cold
right.
as
Well,
ice.
let's put it this way: based on the way he looked at the weigh-in, the FBI they're not going to raid snack offices. Okay, let's just put it that way. Victor, you're good there. Okay.
So I think he goes back to 135, and well, unfortunately, the biggest fight that could be made in that division is still over on the other side of the street with Top Rank and Lomachenko. But I would want that.
I still want to see it.
I would want that fight to be made. Now, here's the irony. Prior to Spence fight, I really like Mikey big against Lomachenko.
Based on size?
Based on the size. But now with the speed factor.
The foot
and
speed.
the foot speed.
Yeah.
Ooh. Now I'm thinking that's a much more even fight. And it could be a really intriguing fight. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've always thought the one thing with Mikey Garcia that you cannot do is work in a linear fashion and allow him to time you. Lomachenko is the butterfly.
Yes.
He floats around that ring, and when you think he's
Young
there,
Pacquiao-esque.
he's not. But also, look, Lomachenko's really a featherweight who's been forced to move up. The size is still a factor, but I'm very curious. The next fight or two, no matter where Mikey Garcia fights at, whether it's 40 or 35 or anywhere in between, I want to see how he looks physically.
I agree. So that's why I think 135, a fighter not of the championship caliber per se,
Just
right?
a solid guy.
A solid guy, and then you can start looking at your big money fights, Lomachenkos or what have you.
Yeah, so Mario, taking a look at this undercard, the fights were short, the broadcast was long, and again, we will get into it. David Benavidez knocks out J. Leon Love in 2 rounds. Mario at 168. I don't think there's a better offensive machine than this young guy.
That kid is bad, dude. He is bad. Big for that weight class. Okay, and it's weird because it goes against his body style. You think he'd be very long and lean, fight from the outside. He is slick inside. He has got some fast hands.
He's got
for
some
a big
twitch.
guy.
He's got some
He's
twitch.
got that twitch muscle. You know what I mean? The athletic Mexican dude. I was like, whoa, very, very impressed with his athletic ability and how he looks so natural in their fighting.
He can relax.
Very, very relaxed. He stays focused, works hard, and obviously doesn't party like that. I think and that's a talented division. I think he's still the man to beat in that division. I would favor him in many of the matchups.
Well, I do think Caleb Plant's boxing style would trouble him, though, because one thing, if you allow David Benavidez to plant his feet and
you
set
stay
on
in
his
front
heels,
you're right.
You're going to get grounded.
But then I think he's
Grind it
also,
up.
I agreed, but I also think he's smart enough and savvy enough to, he's going to move on you. He does have that, I think he will use his jab and can make those adjustments. I think he's like a James Toney in that sense.
He is.
Where he's very natural like James Toney and he adjusts and he's just a fighter, a born fighter.
I remember 10 years ago when
he was fat. Remember how fat he was?
Well, 10 years ago at Wild Card when Jose Benavidez was considered the can't-miss prospect, him, his father, and his brother would go to the gym. And I remember before your current job, you used to go to on the same times we did between 10 and 1.
Right.
I still remember Jose Benavidez would be there. Everyone pays attention to him. Mr. Benavidez is working on it. And I saw this fat, portly kid. He's literally 275 pounds.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. He's a big kid. He got down to 168.
And I remember thinking, well, that's nice. This kid's trying to lose weight. Not that he's trying to get in better shape. It's gonna be good for your life. I never even knew he was an amateur fighter. I thought he was just a kid that was trying to slim down so he doesn't die of diabetes by age 28.
That's cold as ice.
So then he turns pro, and I said, really? I thought it was like a novelty.
Right.
2-3 years later, I'm thinking, this guy can actually fight.
Yeah.
And he's got a mean streak, too.
Yes. No, he's the real deal, dude. He's badass.
Yeah.
And he's young. He's so young. So I really, really like him. I am high on him, and I hope to see these matchups because there's some good potential matchups. That's probably one of my favorite divisions right now with all those potential matchups.
And speaking of that, Anthony Durrell, who won the WBC title,
He called him out, right?
now gets that shot because he was the champion in recess based on his 6-month suspension. Should be an interesting fight. Boy, Louis Neri, that's another guy that's only been stopped by himself.
From
He's
Tijuana.
had, drug suspensions, not making weight, but boy, he blasted out a pretty sturdy guy in McJoe Arroyo
who hasn't
in
been
4
stopped
rounds.
right there. Well, that was an impressive
He looked good.
outing right there. He looked real good. I know Pacquiao, who is he's a big fan of him, and so there's been some comparisons, but I think is a little premature. He was very excited about that. Listen, those 2 performances we just said, those were some really impressive star-making performances. Why has my guy got to shave his mustache? What's with that terrorist look? That was distracting to me. I didn't understand that.
Well, yeah, that's Mario. Here's the other fight.
Okay, no answer for that.
The opener of this.
No, but he does look good. But he did look good, and I think he's someone to look out for.
At 118, him and Inoue, I think, is the absolute
great
fight to make. The opening bout of this card, Mario, Chris Arreola, as Chris Rock said, did what he's supposed to, knocked out the very untested Jean-Pierre Augustin in 3. Here's the problem I have with that. That fight, I timed it because it began at 8 o'clock Central Time in Dallas. That fight didn't start till 8:25. Now, there were a lot of quick early knockouts, which I love on pay-per-views.
They even put a swing bout in there, right?
Right. Listen, I'm not going to talk about the broadcasting because I did not get to see it. But from a production standpoint, boy, people on Twitter, and even you, because I was keeping you in touch because you had stuff to do in Orlando, look, get the show moving.
You got to keep. How was it in the stadium? How did it feel? Were they good about the music? Were they?
But, I mean, people were just, after a while, look, people kind of like the intermission once in a while for 5 minutes. Go to the restroom, get a beer.
Drink, whatever.
But by 15 minutes, you're kind of like, okay, what's going on?
Right.
And the other thing with Texas, and you've been there for a couple Pacquiao fights, last call is like at 1 or 2.
Right.
So by the time you get back to the hotel in Texas, when it's last call, they just don't stop serving alcohol. They literally take it out of your hand.
That's the one thing about being on the East Coast. Like you mentioned, I was in Orlando. Dude, that main event got off, what was it, like almost midnight? When I'm like, we get so spoiled with sports, Monday Night Football, with the fight. It's ridiculous. It's like, my gosh, God forbid you got to get up early the next day. But it just... I guess if you're in a bar, maybe, and it's a party atmosphere. But I had to go to bed, catch an early flight. So it was a monkey wrench. But inside the stadium itself, you said they did a good job.
I thought people were having fun.
Okay.
They really were. People were looking forward to it. But again, I don't think that after a second round knockout, you need to wait 30 minutes to get to the next fourth round knockout.
No.
It's a little bit of overkill. I know they have a cast of thousands on Fox. They want to run a lot of their vignettes. But come on, everyone comes to see one thing. The main event. Let's be honest. When you pay for a main event, I don't care if it's Butterbean or me or St. John. It's whatever on that marquee is what I'm here to really to look at. Mario, there was a lot of fights this past weekend. Quickly go through them. Fight review Friday night in Philadelphia on the Zone. Tevin Farmer with the 12-round decision over Joan O'Carroll, defending his IBF 130-pound title. Then middleweights, Masiev Sulecki holds on for dear life, holding off the hard-charging Gabe Rosado in 10 rounds. And then also Sunday, St. Patrick's Day on ESPN+, Michael Conlon notches his 12th victory, and Louis Collazo with the 10-round decision over veteran Samuel Vargas. And a lot of stuff going on this week. Mario, fight preview Thursday from the Avalon and the Zone. Golden Boy presents a show. It's their new Thursday night series on the Zone featuring Mercedes Hesta and Fernando Coroboyan. I like these developmental series because we've seen a lot of kids, you don't know who they are as 4, 6, 8-rounders. I remember doing shows on CBS Sports Network, which I think 1,500 people at most may have seen. Featured guys like Rob Brandt and Jarrell Big Baby Miller. These shows are important.
They really are. Virgil Ortiz is now been important to these shows.
Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, Ryan Garcia. That was what I was just going to say. Yeah, so no, they're very important. That's a fun venue if you haven't been there.
Right, and also Saturday night on ESPN from the hangar in Costa Mesa, California. Heavyweight Kubrat Pulev makes his top-ranked debut. And as Bone Thugs and Harmony would say, see you at the crossroads. Jesse Magdaleno takes on Rico Ramos. My understanding is the winner of this might get a featherweight title shot. The loser probably has to get an application for a real job. And there's also afternoon cards from the UK on ESPN Plus and on the Zone. And then Sunday, it's the return of Hollywood Fight Night presented by 360 Promotions and our good friend Tom Loeffler.
Oh, I love Sunday fights.
You ought to put in for a pass. I'll talk to Tom.
Wait, it's this Sunday?
Sunday.
Where at?
The Avalon.
What? Sunday nights are fun.
Yeah, bring Nico down.
What time? It's a school night, but all right, what time is it?
Around 4 or 5. So call Loeffler.
Let's talk about
call
that.
Loeffler. They might have a seat for
Sunday
you.
nights are fun for fights. Okay.
Right. So Sergey Boachuk and Ali Ekmedov are two of the fighters on that card. Then news and notes. Pretty big signing here. Carl Frampton is signed with Top Rank. You know what I want to see next then? Oscar Valdez.
That's a great little fight right there.
And also one other thing. Deontay Wilder. Now, we're filming this on a Monday. Tomorrow, he's going to make a decision. He's not entering the Zone. He didn't take the Top Rank offer. I'm being told, and if you read the ginseng leaves, looks to me like he's going to be on Fox pay-per-view. Here's the problem. Okay, fighting Dominic Brazil. That's a tough sell, isn't it?
Yeah, very tough. Very, very tough. He's I think ultimately probably going to regret that decision.
Yeah. Let's go to the Ask Mario segment of the 3 Knockdown Rule. Saul says, hey, Mario, why didn't you save Steve and stop him from tweeting that he was picking Mikey? Ha. Thanks a lot, Lopez. You could have stopped me.
You know, in life, you got to go by the LTM.
He told you right here on the
philosophy.
show.
I
He
told
did,
him.
he did.
LTM. When it did, just listen to Mario.
Yeah. This was the worst prediction I had since I said Jamarcus Russell's going to be a franchise quarterback.
Did you
for the,
say that?
No, I really didn't.
Okay.
You picked Miami to go to the BCS last
Oh,
year, too.
I did.
that's
But you know what?
true.
Yeah,
Thank you,
this is
Nichols.
the worst. I did say this. I said this is the worst prognostication since I said Kyle Wright would be the next great Miami quarterback. Didn't really end up that way. Here's one from the Throne South. Do you believe Mikey significantly hurt his bargaining power for a potential fight with Lomachenko?
I don't believe that. I think, like I said, if Mikey went in there and got blasted, perhaps. But even then, I don't think it would, because people would justify, look, shouldn't have been fighting in that weight class, blah blah blah. So no, I don't think so.
I don't either. If it came at 35, yes. But again, you got to understand the circumstances, the devil's in the details. Fought at 47 against the guy most other welterweights have skirted. Here's one from Matt Prentice. Who wins more games next year, the Jets with Le'Veon Bell or the Raiders with Antonio Brown?
The Jets with Le'Veon Bell.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nichols?
Whew. I'll go Jets. They got an easier division.
Yeah,
They do
that
have-
AFC West is tough.
Couple of things. The Raiders, to me, are very broken. The Jets were actually competitive in a lot of games.
Right.
And you say
Darnold, I think, is
They
going
have
to
a
get better.
decent defense.
Oh, yeah,
too.
and Darnold, look, they say they need a receiver. Look, Le'Veon Bell catches 85, 90 balls a year.
I heard he came in like 50 pounds heavier or something crazy.
Yeah,
Might be.
that might be an issue.
Wow.
But I kind of like the Jets. I actually think they need a number one receiver. They have a lot of 2s and 3s. But Darnold, to me, is special. And so
Well, they got a top 10 draft pick. So.
yeah, so they have a future. Here's one from Tom Bob Anderson. Are there any major roadblocks to a possible Inoue/Neri fight? Can't think of many better matchups, and I love to see the monster lay out that juice head. Wow.
Who's the juice head?
Well, Neri had some issues in Japan. He failed for PEDs.
Oh, but that was more of a diuretic, right?
I'm
Was
not
it a
sure.
juice? I thought it was a
Well,
diuretic.
look, a PED
well, then I
is a
shouldn't talk out about.
PED. A
Well,
PED
yeah,
is a
okay,
PED.
fine.
I mean,
fine.
look, people are not going to be
No,
forgiving
but I
of
think
this.
it.
They're
No,
not.
but they are. Look, you're forgiving of Benavides with Coke, but I think with
Yeah.
the performance-enhancing drugs, I guess Coke could be a performance-enhancing drug too.
It can
right?
be.
Right?
It absolutely
You
can
can have
be.
a heart attack out there, but it could be a PD.
Well, I think Doc Ellis, the former Pittsburgh Pirate pitcher, pitched a perfect game on PCP.
Damn,
They've actually made documentaries.
that's actually
of-
impressive.
Didn't Lawrence Taylor
Damn.
play on Coke?
From only
LT?
most of the 80s.
LT.
Only for
Lawrence
most of the
Taylor.
80s.
Oh yeah, Doc Gooden too.
Yeah.
I think he pitched in like a no-hitter. Well, yeah, you're all focused and fired up.
Here's one from hashtag Steven, your friend. Which fight will be made first, Spence Crawford or Loma Garcia? Oh.
Gosh, well, I pray for both. I would say Loma Garcia has a better chance of getting made first, only because Spence has some
Other
options, and pretty good options. Like I said, the Porter fight's a good option, the Thurman fight's a good option, the Pacquiao fight's a good option on paper. So he's got whereas Garcia not necessarily,
Right.
and he's got more right. So I would say.
Here's a question from Snake Whisperer. If Mikey goes down to 135 and beats Loma, does it still make a good case to be number one pound for pound? I think it does.
Yeah, I think it does. Because look, it was still a valiant effort where he didn't. Again, we don't know, but suffered a lot of damage and didn't get blown out. So yeah, and depending how he wins too.
Robert Montano asks, now that everyone has their streaming services set, which do you like the most at this point?
Well, I'll tell you something. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was partying with friends when I saw the Fox broadcast. Okay, but I read on Twitter a lot of people couldn't stand the announcers and they were really negative on them. But I've also heard the same thing about the DAZN with their broadcasting crew and all that. So for both cases, on a lot of the fights I've watched, I've had to watch it either without sound or whatever. So I haven't really had. But from what's your take from what you've seen?
I believe that all of the platforms, and again, for full disclosure, I do work for one of them, the worldwide leader out of Bristol, Connecticut. I think everyone, when they do a fight card, has to be very careful about what they say in terms of grading or judging other people's fights. Because what do they say about glass houses? Don't throw stones or left hooks. And there's certain times when you watch all of these broadcasts, you're like, that doesn't set well. It doesn't, because you have to be careful. That, to me, my biggest thing is I cover boxing. I don't cover just ESPN/top rank boxing. So I want my word to have some sort of credibility. Never mind last week's bad pick. Okay, that was just bad. But but when I say a criticism of another network's fights, I have to be willing to take the same type of shots at something that's on ESPN.
Of course.
And there are times when there are certain things that are said, I'm like, I'd stay away from that. I actually think all of the platforms are very good. They have their strengths, they have their weaknesses, and it comes down to this. Are you making the fights, and are you giving it a fair call?
I like that politically correct answer.
That's what I do.
Damn, that was really good. I was going to vote for you. And you know what? I'll never forget what the great Jim Lampley always told me. He goes, Mario, you know what? When I was asking him instead of getting into calling these fights myself or just in hosting a journey, he goes, good fight, good broadcast. Bad fight, bad broadcast usually.
Right. If the Fox...
That's what they're going to remember at the end of the day.
If the Fox card last week was like one of those Don King shows, no one would really complain about the announcing.
Right.
I really believe it's exacerbated when you have some absolute slop in the ring. Now, I will say this. The ESPN Plus, the thing I like about it is that it has other sports, the 30 for 30 library.
Right.
You get a lot of stuff.
Well, you get that on the DAZN, too.
Right. The Zone has a very clean layout, and I love the way they right away put up the replay of the fights.
Yes.
I have not seen the Fox app, but I'm sure it's very good. Again, if you're a boxing fan, is it too much? And again, it's not my money. I don't know everyone's situation, but Mario, I'm not saying people shouldn't bitch and moan, but for an extra $15 a month, essentially, and now that there's no more HBO, if you're a hardcore boxing fan, is there any reason not to fork out just $15 a month for all this product?
No, absolutely not. And I think with the stable that they've assembled, it's absolutely worth it right now.
Yeah, and here's the final one from Jesse Prado. Being that Mikey moved up 2 divisions to fight a top dog at welter, how do y'all think Spence would fare at middleweight versus Canelo, Golovkin, Jacobs, Sanders? Now, you brought this up last week, that you thought that was a more palatable matchup than Mikey moving up to 47.
More competitive fight. I think he'd actually carry the weight rather well. I think, though, because Canelo is Spence is, I think, would be coming in strong at that middleweight, but Canelo's powerful. Then he places those body shots so nice, and I think that's where you'd see the difference. I think because he's already, how old is he? 29?
He's
30?
No, he's 31, I think, Spence.
Spence is 31.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Still
he's
physical prime. Still in his physical prime.
No, my point is, so it's not like he's 21. He's not like Benavidez,
No.
21, where he's still going to probably go. He is what he is right now. That's his size. So I think those shots would affect him. If he was like a 23-year-old, 21-year-old, and he'd grow into that a little bit, then I'd probably give him a little bit more of a shot against like a Canelo, but I think it'd be a hell of a fight later on. I don't think by the time he gets up there, Canelo stays at middleweight, though. I think by that time, Canelo might be a super middleweight because he keeps getting thicker. He's getting more built like a wrestler.
Put me on the record right now. Errol Spence in 12 to 18 months will be a champion at 154, and I've said this for a while. He'll be a champion at middleweight. I think he's the modern-day Hagler. I said this after his fight with Peterson because he has
You're assuming Canelo's out of that weight class at that point.
Well, look, there's 4 belts. And
because ironically, Canelo is younger than Spence.
No, he is.
As much as that's what's crazy. When you think about his success and all, he's actually younger than. But let's stay there for a second. Let's assume Canelo and Spence are at the same weight class when he
biggest
moves
fight
up.
in 2 years. If they do that in Dallas, it'll look like a Cowboy playoff game. These other fights that we've been to,
What's that?
they've all. Oh, would you be quiet?
Ah, very good.
Very good.
You'd have to go back to like 1988.
Yeah, well, as Jimmy Johnson would say, how about them Cowboys? But the other fights that we've all been to with Canelo and Pacquiao and now Spence, they've all done 40 to 50,000, right?
Yeah.
You put Spence with Canelo, you're taking that curtain off the top deck. You're doing 75 to 80. The one thing I did not like about Spence in the aftermath, because he was very gracious, even guys like me that picked against him, he came off great. I didn't like the fact that when, again, Oscar's going to be Oscar on Twitter saying, hey, Spence, if you really want to make some money, come over to the Zone.
Right.
Spence retweets it with a basic tweet that says, hey, brother, you don't treat the black fighters well. I'm like, where'd that come from?
Oh,
See,
come on.
Come on.
You
really?
know,
That's a low blow.
I was
Errol.
talking to Oscar, too. It's funny you say that, but I was talking to Oscar about he would love to get Spence over.
Oh, he's been open about it the last year and a half.
He would love to try to really make a hard push because eventually, if he does want to move
years,
up in 2 years, exactly
the
what you
fight.
said. I like the way Oscar's thinking, and I think Spence would be foolish if he doesn't at least strongly consider it because he can make in that one fight. Forget about it. More than he could if he fights for the next 5 years against, I don't care any of the champions you have right now. Am I right?
No, and I think Spence has it. He has the brawn. He has the brain. He's got a nice personality.
Right.
That's very relatable.
Right.
He's got a great story.
I think Canelo would ultimately break him down though with those body shots. I really do. I think he ultimately would because Look, if you're talking about a guy, if
Even
Canelo
with Spence's
was
footwork and ability to move.
yes, because Canelo has gotten better every single fight. The moment will not be too much for him, and I think those body shots, those well-placed body shots, will take its toll. Only because it's more of his natural weight class. I think the same thing. I'd be much more competitive than the Garcia, the Spence, what we just saw. It'd be much more competitive, but I think eventually it would take its toll. He'd feel those body shots, and if he'll come with those shots, dude, Canelo's fucking strong. And I think that eventually you'd be able to. It would take its toll.
Okay, moving on to final flurries. Mario, we didn't get into this last week, but Lori Loughlin, what's her name? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Lori Loughlin, but we know who you make.
And Felicity Huffman, they're in trouble for trying to get their kids bypassing the system. Boy, I think this helps you, Mario.
Oh, really? In what
yeah,
sense?
because you can tell your two kids, hey guys, listen, you better study, because that option over there. It's over. Okay, you just better get your 4.0. If you want to go to Stanford or Harvard, we've been saving, but then you could tell your wife, Masa, we're good. Buy the summer home. We're good.
There's other ways.
There's other
ways that no. Yeah. Here's the thing that blows me away. Look, dude, this isn't anything new. They just got caught. It's like a speeding ticket. Everybody speeds, but they just got caught, and now they got to play the consequences, and people are just roasting them. Two unassuming people, too, who are very likable. The thing that trips me out, right? She paid $500,000 for SC, right? To get her. Why wouldn't you use that money for like a startup business and show them how to? You know what I mean? It's like you're doing them a disservice because if they weren't,
that's not a status symbol.
Well, but if they weren't,
it's not a status symbol.
I disagree. My daughter has her own business. She's able to run her own business. Has so many employees under. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're not able to get in there on their own merit, how are they going to be able to sustain and cut it? What are they going to be there for every test? You understand what I'm saying? They're not going to be able to.
Didn't one of the daughters say, "I don't care about school. I just want to go to the tailgate"? I'm like, oh my god.
Remember Massimo? Remember Massimo? That's her dad.
Yeah.
They're a wealthy family.
Quality clothing.
They're doing fine.
Quality
was doing fine. That's the whole thing. Trips me out. Yeah, I guess it was just for prestige and when you have stupid money, just to say, I guess your kid went.
$500,000,
but if you really love your kids, you're doing them a disservice because why not set up a business for them? Let them learn and fail on that business on their own.
So you're saying let's give a business to a kid that has a 2.3 GPA, that doesn't care about school, that doesn't have a business admin.
Surround them with smart people. Do the George Bush move. Just surround them with smart people around. Get your Cheney. Get Cheney around them. You know what I mean? Surround them with smart people and let them learn around it. That's what I would do. If I'd be honest, if I knew my kid wasn't as bright, then I'd surround him with smart people and give them the opportunity to shine. You're just doing them a disservice with this fugazi document.
How about, hasn't this been a quid pro quo for a long time, though, the donation that's passive, or is that for the borderline kids that are kind of sort of close, and that these kids weren't? Is that the difference?
Well, the difference was they didn't donate straight to the school. They donated straight through this program, which was supposed to be like sort of charity-based. It was
a fake charity.
Yeah, it was a fake charity, and then they got pinched because they wrote it off. So now you got tax fraud on top of it. So there was different levels. If they would have went straight to the school, well then that's why you got these libraries and churches
Lori
and
Loughlin Center of Fine Arts.
Yeah, if you would have got straight to school, but then they were cold as ice, photoshopping their face onto the other athletes. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, right. They were water polo players. If you would have went straight to the school, then
they would have been fine. Okay, except they would have, but they either try to save face or were slick about it. They just went about it all wrong. It's not going to stop. People are just going to donate straight to the school.
Two final takeaways from this. Number one, Lori, Aunt Becky, still looking good. And number two, $500,000. $500,000.
She is still looking good. I just interviewed her.
And $500,000 at SC could buy a good quarterback, which they kind of need. So I could see why they would do it. Maury, speaking of higher education, I want to laud this student athlete who is the example of what is good about this system, what's good about America, and is going to make me watch March Madness. And I'm glad he listened to me and not you. Zion. Good job. I just love the way
Zion got in there based on his academic merit too.
Right? No, yeah. You know what it's called? 25 and 10. Yeah. Like Charles Barkley once said. No. You want to get to a good school, kids, study hard, do your work, or average 30 and 10. They'll pay your way in.
You're exactly right. At least you're contributing something to school. You're offering your talent. So I agree with you on that. That kid, I told you about that kid though. He's phenomenal.
Must watch TV.
Yes, but too big. He's gonna balloon up when he gets to the league. Too old, he can balloon up, blow out a knee or something.
He could do the intermittent fasting. The thing that I like about him,
I hope so. But you know what I'm saying? He's too big.
The team will get him on the program though. You're right.
No, but
he's a big kid, dude.
He is must-watch TV. He's actually done the impossible. He's made Duke likable. And if I'm the NBA, and if you want the Knicks to finally be good, you got to tamper with the ping pong balls.
Dude, well, or maybe the Lakers. They're not making any playoffs.
You know, I'd trade them now for LeBron. Dude. I would. I
think
that much of them. I'm so down on LeBron.
Who's so am I? But who's the other kid that they're saying it might even be better fundamentally sound?
No, who cares? I want Zion. Zion
No, I know,
brings
but that
heat.
kid they're saying. What's
Well, I
that
think
kid's
that's
name?
Another kid at
teammate.
Duke.
Yeah,
Barrett. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Barrett.
Barrett. Right. They're saying that.
No,
kid
but
is
he doesn't give you the buzz.
No, he doesn't give you the buzz.
Zion
no.
does things. You're like, wow, he sells tickets, which is.
Oh no, you're right. He's special. I agree.
And by the way,
who might have the first pick this year?
hopefully the
You mean
Knicks.
the Knicks?
For the NBA,
Wow,
and
they
if
finally
they
get
get
the first-
Durant and Zion, now even Dolan
Ooh.
couldn't screw that up.
Ooh.
And I want to give a round of applause to Walt Frazier, the Hall of Famer, the smooth, dapper, debonair point guard. I am so glad he said what he said about LeBron. I don't know if you saw this. The Lakers, who just had a bust of a season, end up choking this game to the bad Knicks. LeBron is out there by himself on the bench, completely separated from his teammates, and Walt Frazier did not take the politically correct route. He said, you know what, that's a bad look. Either you're a part of the team in public or you're not, but that is not the way a leader should be behaving. That's not what he's brought in for. You know what? I can't disagree. I'm down on LeBron. I don't think he's all in on this.
Man, we got hoodwinked.
Bamboozled.
We got
busted LeBron.
bamboozled.
Led
dude.
astray.
We got a busted LeBron, and I think it's
Yeah.
going to set us back, dude. I really do. No big free agent's going to want to come play.
It's toxic.
It
toxic.
is. It's toxic, and oh man! And then the teammates he does have, he tried to trade their ass,
Right.
so they're all looking at him like, "Yo!" So they're not going to go to war for that guy.
Yeah.
So it's bad.
Mario, I took literally a 12-hour nap on Sunday because I had to come home, and then I had to do some stuff for the ESPN Plus card. So literally, I
You
could
went
not.
to bed. That's not.
Yeah,
So
that's
what
not
happened was
Gosh, damn,
that card went from
hibernation.
12 to 5, and then I had to stay all the way up till 7 because Dave Smith had me on a radio, so I was pooped. So from about 7:30 till about 7:45 this morning, I was out like a log. So I missed billions. Now go ahead and give spoilers because I don't care.
First of all, I'm so jealous you slept that long. I haven't slept that long since
Yeah.
I was like 13 or
I
something.
felt like a polar bear in the middle of February.
Damn,
So
dude.
how was the opening episode of the new season of Billions?
Okay, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but the storylines are completely different now.
Oh.
The writing is still impeccable. Yeah,
Oh.
I love
I
Chuck
can't wait
Rhodes'
to-
dad. Chuck Rhodes' dad is great. But Taylor,
Taylor, what's going
you
on?
see her as a woman with the wig. I'll give you that little teaser right there. And you're like, what? And what happens to
Wow.
Wags is crazy too. I'm looking forward to the
Oh.
season. This season's good.
Oh, I can't
This
wait to
season's
hit
gonna be
my
great.
DVR. Mario, Game of Thrones is going to be premiering its last season in 3
on
weeks.
Palm Sunday.
Here's my question. Now that they don't have boxing, for a guy like me and you, do we keep our HBO subscription?
Yes, because
Oh.
of Game of Thrones, and they've had great documentaries and real sports.
Which I love.
Which
Still
I
high
love
quality.
too. It is. So they still have high quality programming. So, but I love movies. I love TV. So yeah. But if you were tuning in just for the sports, obviously no. But I love that stuff.
Okay, Mario, by the way, you've always looked good, but never as good as you look today. What a nice looking T-shirt.
Right?
By the way, our store.
I'm gonna post that picture.
Yes, our store is finally out. We have shirts, T-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies,
Hats.
sweaters, hats.
That's right.
And just go to 3 Knockdown
I'm gonna
Rule.
post too.
Yes, that's the 3 Knockdown Rule. Go to 3knockdownrule.com. Shipping and all that stuff. You can get the prices. Got a great response early on in the first week. I want to thank everybody that purchased stuff.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to
Yes.
be
Some
adding more
stuff sold
stuff.
out already, so you guys got to get quick.
Some
look
of
at
that
that.
stuff out. And look, we want everyone to be able to rep these T-shirts. And again, thanks to everybody. Mario, that's a quality T-shirt.
It
How-
is. The
how
material,
soft is that?
it's soft. It's great. You've never looked better. They did a great job on my wig too. I really like it. No, and it's great, man. It's been so much fun. So nice that we've gotten such great support. Thank you so much for
And
listening.
absolutely. So, all right, so that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. On behalf of Mario Lopez and Justin Buffalo Knuckles, this is Steve Kim saying, till the next round, goodbye, everybody.